Harold and Evelyn had known each other since they were young adults. They met in a small-town community hall where a dance was being held. Harold, shy and soft-spoken, had always enjoyed the quiet corners of life, reading books and observing people from a distance. Evelyn was the opposite. She had an energy that seemed to fill the room, laughter that drew people in and a way of making even strangers feel comfortable. From the moment they crossed paths, there was an unspoken connection, a spark that neither could ignore. Harold had always admired people who could express themselves freely, and Evelyn was certainly one of those people. She had a way of talking about life that made it seem more exciting, more vivid. When they first danced together, Harold felt a nervous excitement that he had never experienced before. Evelyn, on the other hand, seemed at ease, guiding him through the steps with gentle patience. They talked that evening for hours, sharing stories about their childhoods, their hopes and dreams for the future. By the end of the night, Harold knew he had met someone extraordinary. Their relationship developed slowly but steadily. They went on long walks, explored the nearby countryside, and spent weekends in small cafes where they would talk about everything and nothing at the same time. Harold loved the way Evelyn could turn an ordinary day into something special, and Evelyn loved Harold's calm and steady presence, which balanced her vibrant energy. Friends and neighbors often remarked on how perfect they seemed together, as if they had been made for each other. After a few years, they decided to marry. Their wedding was simple, held in the same community hall where they had met, surrounded by family, friends, and neighbors who had watched their love grow. Harold had never been comfortable in the spotlight, but Evelyn's excitement and joy made him feel at ease. They exchanged vows, promising to support and care for each other for the rest of their lives. The promise felt weighty yet beautiful, a reflection of the deep bond they had already built. Life after marriage was not without its challenges. Harold continued his work as an accountant, a job he found steady and comforting, while Evelyn pursued her passions in community service and local events. They faced the usual ups and downs of life, raising children, managing finances, and dealing with the occasional health scare. Through it all, their love remained constant, a foundation that allowed them to weather any storm. They built a home together, a place filled with warmth, laughter, and memories. Photographs lined the walls, each capturing a moment of their shared journey. Letters exchanged in the early days of their courtship were carefully stored in a wooden box, a reminder of the beginnings of a life filled with love. Their home was not grand or luxurious, but it was theirs, a sanctuary that reflected the life they had worked so hard to create. Despite their long life together, there was always an element of mystery about Evelyn that Harold noticed but never fully understood. She was private about certain aspects of her past, often changing the subject when questions arose. Harold had accepted this quietly, believing that everyone has parts of themselves that remain hidden, and that love was about accepting the whole person, mysteries and all. As the years went by, Harold and Evelyn's bond only deepened. They shared quiet mornings over coffee, spent evenings reading or watching the sunset from their porch, and celebrated milestones with family and friends. Their love was not dramatic or sensational, but steady and enduring, a testament to the life they had built together. They traveled when they could, exploring new places and making memories that would last a lifetime. From seaside towns to mountain trails, each trip brought them closer together. Evelyn's excitement and curiosity made every journey an adventure, while Harold's careful planning and attention to detail ensured that everything ran smoothly. They complemented each other in every way, their differences blending seamlessly to create a life of harmony. Neighbors often remarked on how they seemed to understand each other without words, how a simple glance could convey 1,000 thoughts. Their relationship was a model of patience, respect, and understanding. Harold knew Evelyn's moods, her preferences, her small quirks, and loved her all the more for them. Evelyn admired Harold's steadfastness, his ability to remain calm in difficult situations, and his unwavering support. Even as they grew older, their love did not wane. They celebrated their anniversaries with quiet dinners or small gatherings with friends and family. They laughed about old memories and shared new ones, creating a tapestry of experiences that spanned decades. Their home became a living record of their life together, filled with artifacts of joy, love, and shared history. There were moments of reflection, times when Harold would think back on the life they had shared. He remembered their first dance, their wedding day, the birth of their children, and countless small moments that defined their life together. Each memory was a thread in the fabric of their relationship, a reminder of the depth of their bond. Evelyn, too, had her reflections. She cherished the life they had built, the family they had raised, and the love they had nurtured. She was aware of the secrets she carried, parts of her past that she had kept hidden, but she also knew that her present life, the life she shared with Harold, was one of love, trust, and happiness. She had created a world in which she felt safe, a world in which Harold was her anchor. Over time, their children grew up and started families of their own, but Harold and Evelyn remained close, attending birthdays, holidays, and family gatherings. They were pillars of the family, examples of commitment and devotion. Friends sought their advice, neighbors valued their wisdom, and strangers often admired the evident love and respect they shared. Through it all, there were moments of quiet tension, small things that Harold noticed but did not fully understand. Sometimes Evelyn would pause when asked about her early life. Sometimes she would avoid certain topics. Harold, ever patient and trusting, did not push, believing that love meant accepting the whole person, even the parts that were hidden or unclear. As they approached their later years, Harold and Evelyn became even more reliant on each other. They navigated health challenges, aging, and the changing dynamics of their family with patience and grace. They found comfort in routines, joy in shared hobbies, and solace in each other's company. Their love, though quiet, was unshakable. Harold often thought about the nature of their bond. 60 years together was more than just a number. It was a lifetime of shared experiences, of trials and triumphs, of laughter and tears. It was a testament to patience, understanding, and the deep human need for connection. Evelyn had been his partner, his friend, his confidant, and his greatest source of joy, and yet, there was always that small unspoken mystery about her past, a shadow that Harold had never felt the need to chase. It was part of the complexity of their relationship, part of the human experience of loving someone fully while never knowing every detail. He trusted her completely, knowing that the love they shared was real and enduring. Their story at this point was one of contentment and quiet happiness. They had built a life together, raised a family, and created memories that would last long after they were gone. They had experienced joy and sorrow, triumph and disappointment, but through it all they had remained united. Their love was not flashy or dramatic, but steady, a constant presence in a world that often changed too quickly. Harold would often sit in his favorite chair, watching Evelyn as she tended to her small garden or read a book. He would marvel at her energy, her zest for life, and her unwavering kindness. He would think back to the day they first met, the dance, the nervous excitement, and the spark that had ignited a lifetime of love. It all seemed both distant and vividly present, a reminder of the extraordinary life they had shared together. Evelyn, too, would sit quietly, reflecting on their journey. She would remember the early days, the challenges they had faced, and the triumphs they had celebrated. She knew that life was finite, that time was fleeting, but she also knew that they had lived fully, loved deeply, and created something lasting. The secret she carried was hers alone, but it did not diminish the love she felt for Harold. Together, they had created a life that many envied, a bond that was admired, and a story that was remarkable in its simplicity and depth. They had weathered the storms of life, found joy in the everyday, and nurtured a love that had grown stronger with each passing year. They had truly lived a full, meaningful life together, and every day was a testament to the power of love, trust, and companionship. As the years passed, Harold began to notice subtle changes in Evelyn. At first, they were almost unnoticeable. She would misplace small items or forget simple details like where she had left her reading glasses or the name of a neighbor they had just seen the day before. Harold, always patient and understanding, attributed it to normal aging. He would gently remind her, sometimes laughing about it with her, trying to keep the moments light and not make her feel embarrassed. But as time went on, the lapses became slightly more concerning. Evelyn would sometimes mumble to herself, staring off into space as if trying to remember something urgent yet elusive. She avoided conversations about her early life, particularly about her family or the town she had grown up in. Whenever Harold tried to ask gently, she would change the subject or smile and say it was a long story for another day. Harold never pushed her, respecting her privacy and understanding that some memories might be painful or complicated. Despite these small concerns, Evelyn remained full of energy in other ways. She still tended to her garden, baked her favorite pies, and entertained friends and family with her stories and laughter. She had always been a private person, but now it seemed as if she was intentionally shielding certain parts of her life from Harold. There were times when Harold caught her looking at old photographs with a distant expression, and when he asked her about them, she would simply smile. Placing the photo back in the album without explanation, Harold's concern grew slowly, mixed with curiosity. He began to notice patterns. Certain letters carefully stored in the attic were addressed to unknown people and spoke in vague terms about the past and things that must stay hidden. They were never threatening or alarming, but the secrecy intrigued Harold. He often wondered what they meant and why Evelyn had never shared these details with him. He respected her wishes to keep some memories private, but a quiet question lingered in his mind. Their daily routines began to revolve more around ensuring Evelyn's comfort. Harold made sure she had everything she needed, from her favorite teas to the right blankets for the colder months. He adjusted his schedule to spend more time with her, reading aloud or sharing stories from their past. He believed that the best way to care for someone you love was through patience, presence, and understanding. Friends and family noticed the changes too. Some suggested medical checkups, worried that Evelyn might be experiencing more serious cognitive decline. Harold agreed, scheduling appointments with doctors and specialists, always accompanying her and listening attentively. Evelyn would participate, but there was a hint of reluctance in her eyes, a subtle way of protecting herself from probing questions. Harold understood and never forced the issue. He wanted to support her, not make her feel like a patient rather than a partner. One afternoon, Harold decided to organize the attic, hoping to bring a sense of order and perhaps uncover something that would make him understand Evelyn better. He carefully went through old boxes, photographs, and letters. That was when he came across envelopes that caught his attention. They were neatly labeled with Evelyn's handwriting, but addressed to people Harold did not recognize. The letters spoke of regrets, mistakes, and events that had been kept hidden. Reading them made Harold feel a mix of emotions: curiosity, concern, and a strange sense of unease. He placed them back in the box, unsure whether to bring them up with Evelyn. Days went by, and Harold noticed Evelyn becoming quieter than usual. She spent more time in her chair by the window, gazing outside as if lost in thought. Sometimes she would reach for his hand and hold it tightly, conveying love and gratitude in silence. Harold felt a growing sense of urgency, a need to understand what lay behind her secrecy. Yet he also felt a deep respect for the boundaries she had set. He knew that she trusted him implicitly, but there were parts of her life she had chosen to keep private, and he would honor that trust. Their conversations shifted subtly, filled with gentle probing and careful listening. Harold would ask open-ended questions, hoping Evelyn might choose to share her memories voluntarily. Sometimes she would answer in fragments, offering glimpses of a life he had never known. Other times she would laugh and change the subject, deflecting curiosity with humor. Harold learned to read between the lines, understanding that love sometimes meant patience and acceptance even when faced with the unknown. Evenings became a sacred time for them. Harold would prepare simple meals, and they would sit together at the table, sharing stories about their day, reflecting on memories, or simply enjoying each other's company. Evelyn still had moments of vibrant storytelling, recounting adventures from the past or dreams for the future. Harold cherished these times, recognizing that they were not just about the past but about the connection they maintained in the present. There were occasional moments of tension. Harold would sense a flicker of worry in Evelyn's eyes, a hesitation in her voice as if she feared revealing something that could disrupt the life they had built together. He never pressed her, instead offering quiet reassurance through touch, presence, and empathy. He learned that love was not always about knowing every detail but about being a steady support through life's uncertainties. Friends and family continued to play a role in their lives. Children and grandchildren visited, bringing laughter and energy into the home. Evelyn's charm and warmth remained evident, though sometimes softened by the weight of her private memories. Harold navigated these visits carefully, ensuring that Evelyn felt comfortable and supported, while also maintaining the sense of normalcy and joy that had always defined their household. As months turned into years, Harold observed a pattern in Evelyn's behavior that both worried and fascinated him. She seemed to compartmentalize her life, keeping the past in a hidden corner while fully embracing the present. The letters he had discovered in the attic were part of this hidden world, a glimpse into experiences she had never shared. Harold respected this, understanding that everyone carries aspects of themselves that they may not be ready to reveal, even to those they love most. Despite the growing signs of age and memory lapses, Evelyn's personality remained vibrant and engaging. She continued to be active in her community, attending local events, volunteering, and maintaining friendships. Harold admired her resilience and determination, recognizing that her strength was a crucial part of the life they shared. He also realized that her secrecy, while mysterious, was not meant to harm but to protect both herself and their shared life. Harold often reflected on the balance they had maintained over the years. He understood that Evelyn's past, whatever it contained, was a part of who she was. It did not diminish the love they had built or the life they had shared. In fact, it highlighted the depth of her character and the complexity of human experience. He felt a mixture of curiosity and compassion, a desire to understand without causing distress or breaking the trust they had cultivated. He noticed that Evelyn sometimes spoke in vague terms about mistakes or things she wished had been different, but she never elaborated. These moments left Harold with questions, yet he also felt a deep sense of empathy. He understood that life is full of choices, regrets, and experiences that shape a person, and that love often involves accepting the entirety of someone's history, even the parts that remain hidden. Their routine continued, filled with small joys, moments of laughter, and the comfort of shared history. Harold found ways to engage Evelyn in meaningful activities, encouraging her to reminisce, to share stories, and to enjoy the simple pleasures of life. He created an environment of safety and trust, where she could express herself without fear of judgment or interruption. As Evelyn's health continued to fluctuate, Harold remained a constant presence. He learned to anticipate her needs, to offer support without being intrusive, and to respect the boundaries she had set around her private memories. This delicate balance required patience, understanding, and unwavering commitment, qualities that had defined their relationship for decades. Harold also found moments for reflection on his own feelings. The discovery of the letters and the subtle changes in Evelyn's behavior sparked a quiet curiosity. He wondered about the life she had lived before they met, about the choices she had made, and about the experiences that had shaped her. Yet he never allowed these thoughts to interfere with their present life. Instead, he embraced the mystery as part of the richness of their relationship, recognizing that love often coexists with unanswered questions. Despite the uncertainty, Harold felt a profound sense of gratitude. He had shared a life with someone extraordinary, someone whose love, kindness, and energy had enriched every aspect of his existence. He knew that the years they had spent together were precious, and he was committed to cherishing each remaining day. Their bond had weathered time, challenges, and the complexities of human experience, and it remained a source of comfort and joy. Even in moments of quiet reflection, Harold found meaning in their shared history. He thought about the early days of their relationship, the excitement of their first meetings, the joys of raising children, and the countless small moments that defined their life together. Each memory reinforced the depth of their connection and the strength of the love that had endured for decades. Harold realized that love is not always about understanding every detail of a person's past. Sometimes it is about presence, patience, and unwavering support. It is about accepting someone fully, including the parts that remain hidden. In Evelyn's secrecy, he saw a testament to her complexity, her strength, and her deep care for the life they had built together. Her hidden memories were not barriers but layers of her identity, adding depth and richness to the woman he had loved for so long. Through all these experiences, Harold and Evelyn continued to share their lives, finding comfort in each other and in the routines that had become part of their daily. Evelyn's health began to decline more noticeably as the seasons changed. Simple tasks like walking to the mailbox or cooking became harder for her. Harold adjusted their home to make life easier for her. He cleared walkways, installed small handrails in the bathroom, and made sure everything she needed was within reach. Every day he was there, watching over her, helping her with meals, and keeping track of her medication. Despite the physical limitations, Evelyn's spirit remained bright. and she found joy in small moments like the sunlight streaming through the kitchen window or the scent of fresh flowers in the garden. Even with these adjustments, there were moments when Evelyn seemed anxious or restless. Harold noticed that she would sometimes grip his hand tightly and whisper things that were barely audible. Words like "you need to know" or "it's about the past" left Harold puzzled and slightly uneasy. He leaned in closer, trying to understand, but she would often pause, shake her head, or redirect the conversation. Harold's heart would race with worry and curiosity, but he maintained a calm demeanor, knowing that patience and reassurance were what Evelyn needed most. Harold tried to gently explore the mysterious topics Evelyn hinted at. He would ask about her childhood, her family, or old friends, but she would always offer only fragments. Some evenings she would speak in cryptic phrases like, "There are things you don't need to know yet," or "Some memories are better left buried." Harold would nod, not wanting to upset her, but inside he felt a quiet tension building. He had spent a lifetime with this woman, and the thought that there were still significant parts of her life hidden from him was both intriguing and unsettling. During this period, Harold decided to revisit the attic. He had gone through it before, but something compelled him to look again. Carefully, he sifted through old boxes, photographs, and letters. He found more letters addressed to unknown individuals, and a few old documents that suggested Evelyn had been part of events he had never imagined. These papers were not alarming in the sense of danger, but they hinted at experiences she had never shared. Each piece he discovered deepened the mystery and made him wonder about the life she had led before meeting him. Evelyn's condition made Harold's role as caregiver increasingly vital. He managed every detail of her day, from preparing her meals to scheduling doctor's appointments. Some days were easier than others. She could still laugh, share stories, and enjoy simple pleasures, but other days were marked by fatigue, confusion, or frustration. Harold remained a constant presence, speaking softly, encouraging her gently, and offering comfort whenever it was needed. He understood that his love for her now required more than companionship. It required unwavering dedication and empathy. Friends and family continued to visit, bringing warmth and distraction into the home. Children and grandchildren loved to sit with Evelyn, listening to her stories or watching her expressions light up when they shared news of their lives. Harold noticed, however, that even in these moments Evelyn occasionally seemed distant, her thoughts elsewhere, as if she were revisiting memories she did not wish to share. Harold respected this distance, knowing that her inner world was private and sacred, and that she had reasons for keeping certain parts of herself hidden. One quiet afternoon, Harold found himself sitting beside Evelyn, holding her hand. The room was filled with the soft light of late afternoon, and Evelyn's eyes seemed more intent than usual. She gripped his hand tightly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Harold," she said, "you need to know something. About the past. About me. Before it's too late." Harold's heart pounded, a mixture of fear, anticipation, and concern. He nodded, gently encouraging her to continue. Evelyn's eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and urgency. She struggled to find the words, each one coming slowly, deliberately, as if weighing the impact it might have. Harold listened intently, holding her hand, feeling the warmth and fragility of the woman he had loved for decades. He realized that whatever she was about to reveal would not just be a story, but a revelation that might change his understanding of her entirely. Yet he also sensed that this disclosure was important, not only for him to know, but perhaps as a way for Evelyn to unburden herself before the end of her life. He stayed silent, offering only gentle nods and reassuring squeezes of her hand, creating a safe space for her to speak. Days passed with Evelyn attempting to communicate more of her past in fragments. She would mention events vaguely, hinting at mistakes, hidden decisions, and life-altering choices she had made long before they met. Harold tried to piece together the fragments, but each clue raised more questions than answers. The letters in the attic now seemed to hold greater significance. Harold realized that Evelyn's secrecy was not about malice or deception, but about protection. Protection for herself, and for the life they had built together. He admired her strength, understanding that she had carried these burdens silently for years. During these moments, Harold also reflected on their shared life. He thought about their first dance, their wedding, the birth of their children, and all the small moments that had defined their relationship. Despite the looming mystery, He understood that these memories were real and unalterable, a testament to the bond they had nurtured. Love, he realized, is not always about knowing every detail. Sometimes it is about presence, support, and trust, even when parts of a person's history remain hidden. As Evelyn's health continued to fluctuate, there were nights when she could not sleep. Harold would sit beside her bed, reading aloud or holding her hand, offering comfort in the quiet hours. Sometimes she would murmur fragments of stories from her past, and Harold would listen patiently, understanding that these moments were both precious and fleeting. He cherished the opportunity to be close to her, even as the weight of the undisclosed secrets lingered in the background. Harold's curiosity grew, but it was tempered by love and respect. He understood that Evelyn's past was hers alone, and that some stories were meant to be revealed only when she was ready. He found himself observing her closely, noting the subtle shifts in expression, tone, and behavior, learning to read the unspoken cues that communicated more than words ever could. Their connection, built over decades, allowed him to sense her emotions and intentions, creating a silent dialogue that required no explanation. One day, while organizing more of the attic, Harold discovered an old journal belonging to Evelyn. It was filled with memories, reflections, and private thoughts she had recorded over the years. Reading through it, he found glimpses of experiences she had never shared aloud, moments of fear, regret, courage, and resilience. Each entry revealed layers of Evelyn that he had never known, deepening his admiration for her and increasing his desire to understand. Yet he also realized that some parts of the journal were deliberately vague, a way for her to preserve privacy even in writing. Harold's role as caregiver became more demanding with time. He learned to anticipate Evelyn's needs, from ensuring she took her medication on schedule to helping her with personal care and mobility. He remained patient, compassionate, and attentive, understanding that her well-being depended not only on physical support, but also on emotional reassurance. Each day presented new challenges, but also new opportunities to express love and devotion in small, meaningful ways. Evelyn, despite her limitations, continued to express moments of joy and clarity. She would smile at memories, laugh at shared jokes, and participate in conversations with friends and family. Harold encouraged these interactions, recognizing that connection and engagement were vital for her emotional and mental health. He also respected her quiet moments, understanding that reflection and solitude were equally important. As the months progressed, Harold sensed a growing urgency in Evelyn's attempts to communicate about her past. Her whispered phrases, her subtle hints, and the intensity of her gaze all indicated that there was something significant she needed to convey. Harold prepared himself emotionally, understanding that the revelation could alter his perception of her life, yet trusting that their shared love and decades of connection would remain a solid foundation. Throughout this period, Harold continued to reflect on the nature of love, trust, and partnership. He realized that true companionship is not limited to joy and laughter, but includes support through uncertainty, patience in the face of mystery, and unwavering presence during times of vulnerability. Evelyn's hidden past, while perplexing, did not diminish the depth of their relationship. Instead, it highlighted the resilience and complexity of their bond. One evening, as the sun set and cast a warm glow across the living room, Evelyn took Harold's hand and looked at him with a mixture of fear and hope. She attempted to speak, her voice weak but determined, struggling to convey the significance of what she needed to reveal. Harold squeezed her hand gently, encouraging her to continue, silently promising that he would listen, understand, and remain by her side no matter the revelation. In that quiet moment, the weight of their shared history and the mystery of Evelyn's past converged, marking the beginning of a profound turning point in their life together. Harold realized that the coming days would require patience, courage, and deep empathy. Evelyn's secret was no longer a distant curiosity. It was becoming a tangible reality that demanded attention and understanding. He felt a mixture of anxiety and anticipation, knowing that whatever she revealed would shape the remainder of their time together. Yet he also felt a profound sense of love and commitment, ready to face the truth alongside the woman who had been his companion for over 60 years. Through all these experiences, Harold remained steadfast, embracing both the joys and challenges of caregiving and emotional support. He learned to balance curiosity with respect, concern with patience, and love with understanding. Evelyn's whispered hints and cryptic phrases were no longer mere mysteries. They were opportunities. The days grew shorter as autumn approached, and Harold spent most of his time caring for Evelyn. She was weaker now, needing more help with basic tasks, but her spirit still shone through in quiet ways. She smiled at familiar memories, laughed at small jokes, and sometimes for fleeting moments spoke clearly about events from long ago. Yet beneath these moments of normalcy, there was a sense of urgency, a feeling that something important lingered just beyond reach. One evening, as rain tapped gently against the windows, Evelyn turned to Harold with a seriousness he had rarely seen. Her eyes, usually filled with warmth and humor, now carried a weight that made his chest tighten. She took his hand in hers, gripping it firmly, and whispered, "Harold, I need you to understand something. About who I really am. About the past. Before it's too late." Harold felt a rush of emotions, shock, curiosity, and fear, but he stayed calm, holding her hand and nodding, silently urging her to continue. He knew that whatever she was about to reveal would not be trivial. It would be something that might change the way he understood the woman he had loved for over 60 years. Evelyn's voice trembled as she spoke. She told Harold that long before they met, she had been involved in a series of events that had left a mark on her life. She had made choices under pressure, faced situations she could not control, and carried the consequences silently for decades. Harold listened intently, feeling a mixture of disbelief and understanding. The words were not easy to hear, but they were spoken with honesty and vulnerability, the kind of truth that comes from someone who has lived with a heavy burden for a lifetime. She explained that her past was not about malice or harm to others, but about mistakes, circumstances, and survival. She had taken steps to ensure that the life she built after those events was separate and safe, especially the life she shared with Harold. She had chosen him, their love, and the family they raised as a way to find peace and create a world filled with care and devotion. The revelation was startling, but Harold could see the depth of her intentions and the love that had guided her actions. Harold felt a whirlwind of emotions. Shock and fear mingled with a profound sense of compassion. The woman he had known, the one who had been his partner, friend, and confidant for decades, had faced challenges and decisions he had never imagined. Yet, despite the weight of her past, the love they shared remained real and unwavering. He realized that the truth, as difficult as it was, did not erase the life they had built together. Instead, it added layers of understanding to the woman he had always admired. Evelyn continued, her voice growing steadier as she recounted more details. She spoke of difficult choices, moments of fear, and times when she felt completely alone. Harold listened, sometimes in silence, sometimes asking gentle questions for clarification. Each revelation painted a picture of a life that had been complex and challenging, yet resilient. He understood that her secrecy was not about deception, but about protection, of herself, of him, and of the life they had created together. As Evelyn shared her story, Harold reflected on the nature of trust and love. He realized that loving someone deeply does not mean knowing every detail of their past. It means accepting them, supporting them, and remaining present even when parts of their history are hidden. Evelyn's courage in revealing her past to him now, at a time when life was fragile, demonstrated the depth of her trust and love. They spent long hours together in those days, talking, holding hands, and occasionally falling into silence, each lost in thought. Harold sometimes needed time to process the information, to reconcile the image of Evelyn he had always known with the experiences she had kept secret. Yet each time, he returned to the simple truth that the woman before him was still the same Evelyn, strong, loving, and dedicated to their shared life. The weight of Evelyn's secret also brought a renewed closeness between them. Harold found himself more attentive, more patient, and more appreciative of the small moments they shared. They laughed more freely, reminisced about old memories, and even created new moments of joy, understanding that life was fleeting and precious. Each conversation, each touch became a testament to their enduring connection. Harold also noticed that Evelyn's health required constant attention. She grew weaker, and tasks that were once simple became monumental challenges. He adapted their home further, arranging furniture to prevent falls, keeping supplies within easy reach, and ensuring that she had everything she needed at all times. Caregiving was no longer just an act of love. It was a responsibility that demanded vigilance, compassion, and emotional strength. Through all of this, Evelyn remained sharp in spirit. Even when her body failed, her mind often soared with reflections on life, love, and the choices she had made. She shared insights about resilience, forgiveness, and the importance of kindness. Harold listened, sometimes marveling at her wisdom, and other times feeling the sting of regret that parts of her story had been hidden for so long. Yet he understood that she had carried those burdens alone out of love and a desire to protect their shared life. Evelyn's revelation also prompted Harold to revisit memories and letters from their past. The envelopes he had found in the attic suddenly made sense in a new light. They were not merely letters to unknown people. They were fragments of a life she had kept separate, carefully preserved as a way to navigate the consequences of past choices. Each discovery deepened his understanding and his respect for her courage and integrity. As days passed, the urgency in Evelyn's attempts to communicate increased. She wanted Harold to know the truth before it was too late, before the end of her life made the disclosure impossible. Harold, in turn, prepared himself emotionally, accepting that the revelations might be unsettling but recognizing that love and understanding would carry them through. He held her hand during these moments, offering reassurance and silent promises that their bond would endure. Family members continued to visit, and Harold gently managed the balance between privacy and connection. Evelyn's strength and warmth were still apparent in interactions with grandchildren, who delighted in her stories and attention. Harold ensured that these visits were meaningful, helping Evelyn share joy without pressure, creating an environment where she could engage fully yet safely. In the quiet of the evenings, Harold often reflected on the life they had shared, memories of their early days together, the laughter of their children, the simple routines of shared life. All of these became more precious in light of Evelyn's revelation. He understood that while the past could be complicated, the present and the love they nurtured were undeniable and unbreakable. Evelyn's secret, once a looming mystery, was now part of their shared reality. Harold realized that the true measure of love was not in the absence of secrets, but in the willingness to face them together, to support each other through revelations and uncertainties. He saw Evelyn not as a different person, but as someone whose life experiences had shaped her into the remarkable woman he had loved for decades. Together, they navigated these final days with a mixture of reflection, closeness, and quiet courage. Evelyn shared as much as she could, and Harold listened with empathy, understanding that her past did not diminish the life they had built, but enriched it with complexity and depth. Each conversation, each gesture of love became a testament to the resilience of their bond. In these moments, Harold realized that life is rarely simple or straightforward. People carry histories, burdens, and experiences that are often hidden from view. Love, he understood, is about embracing the whole person, accepting the complexities and remaining committed through every challenge. Evelyn's revelation, though difficult, exemplified this truth. It reminded him that their 60 years together were not just measured by time, but by the depth of understanding, compassion, and shared experience. Even as Evelyn grew weaker, the love and trust between them deepened. Harold remained her steadfast companion, providing care, comfort, and emotional support. The final days became a period of reflection and reconciliation, where unspoken fears and hidden truths were acknowledged, and the bond they had nurtured for decades was strengthened. Evelyn's courage to reveal her past and Harold's willingness to embrace it created a profound intimacy that transcended years of shared life. It was a testament to the human capacity for love, empathy, and resilience. Together, they faced the unknown with strength, understanding, and an unwavering commitment to each other. Through laughter, tears, and quiet moments of reflection, Harold and Evelyn navigated the complexities of life, love, and the human experience. The revelation of Evelyn's past, while startling, ultimately served to deepen their connection, highlighting the enduring power of trust, patience, and unwavering devotion. In facing the truth together, they exemplified a love that was not only enduring but transformative, shaping the final chapter of their life together with grace, compassion, and profound understanding. The days that followed Evelyn's confession were quiet but filled with an intense emotional weight. Harold spent each moment beside her, listening to her memories, sometimes whispering reassurances, sometimes simply holding her hand as she rested. He learned details about her early life, experiences she had never shared before, and choices that had haunted her for decades. Each revelation revealed a depth of character and resilience he had always admired, but now saw in a new light. Despite the hardships, Evelyn had built a life of love, kindness, and devotion, and Harold's admiration for her grew with every story she shared. Evelyn's health continued to decline, and Harold focused on making her comfortable. Their home was a cocoon of familiarity and warmth, filled with photographs, letters, and mementos of a life they had spent together. Harold read aloud from old books, shared stories of family gatherings, and recalled moments of laughter and joy. Sometimes Evelyn would nod or smile. Other times she would drift into quiet reflection, revisiting memories that she had carried alone for so long. Harold learned to interpret her expressions, subtle cues that communicated more than words could convey. Family visited regularly, sensing the gravity of the final chapter of Evelyn's life. Her children and grandchildren came to share stories, laughter, and companionship. Harold ensured these visits were soothing rather than overwhelming. Evelyn's strength shone in her interactions with her family. She spoke with wisdom, offered guidance, and expressed love that had been nurtured for decades. Yet beneath the surface there was the quiet tension of her hidden past, now fully revealed to Harold but only partially understood by others. Harold remained her protector and interpreter, helping bridge the gap between Evelyn's past and the family she loved. One afternoon, Harold found Evelyn looking at a photograph of a woman he did not recognize. She smiled faintly and explained that it was a close friend from her youth, someone who had been part of the events that had shaped her life before they met. She shared stories of the friendship, the support, and the lessons she had learned. Harold listened, feeling a mix of curiosity and empathy. He realized that every layer of Evelyn's past, even the painful ones, had contributed to the person he had loved for 60 years. The revelations did not diminish her. They enriched the story of her life. Evelyn's energy was fading and Harold's caregiving became increasingly intensive. He managed her meals, her medication, and her comfort with meticulous care. Each day required attention to detail, from adjusting pillows for her comfort to ensuring the house was warm and safe. Yet even in these moments of routine care there was profound intimacy. The shared silences, the gentle touches, and the unwavering presence deepened their connection. Harold realized that love in its purest form is active, patient, and selfless. One evening, as the sun cast long shadows across the living room, Evelyn spoke about forgiveness. She reflected on the mistakes and choices of her past, expressing a desire for understanding and peace. Harold listened, reassuring her that she had nothing to fear, that her past did not define her in his eyes, and that their life together had been filled with love, joy, and accomplishment. Evelyn's eyes glistened with tears, gratitude, and relief. For the first time in decades, she seemed fully at peace with herself and with the life she had shared with Harold. As days turned into weeks, Harold and Evelyn spent hours revisiting their memories together. They laughed about small incidents, marveled at the passage of time, and celebrated the life they had built. The intimacy of shared recollection became a source of comfort and joy. Harold understood that these final weeks were precious, a time to honor not only Evelyn's life, but also the extraordinary bond they had cultivated over 6 decades. Evelyn's final days were marked by moments of quiet reflection and clarity. She often held Harold's hand, expressing love and gratitude in ways that words could not capture. Harold, in turn, offered unwavering support, ensuring she was surrounded by comfort, warmth, and dignity. The challenges of caregiving were tempered by the depth of their connection, the love that had endured, and the understanding that they were facing this chapter together. In one of her last conversations, Evelyn spoke about the power of resilience and the importance of living with integrity. She shared lessons from her past, insights gained from mistakes, and the wisdom that comes from a long life filled with love, struggle, and triumph. Harold listened, absorbing every word, realizing that the woman before him had not only been his partner but also a teacher, guiding him in ways he had only begun to understand. Her courage, honesty, and vulnerability in sharing her past left an indelible mark on him. As Evelyn's time drew near, Harold reflected on their 60 years together. He remembered the nervous excitement of their first meetings, the joys and trials of raising a family, and the countless quiet moments that had defined their shared life. The revelation of her secret, once a source of anxiety and mystery, had ultimately deepened his understanding and love for her. He realized that love is not diminished by secrets. It is strengthened by empathy, trust, and the willingness to face the unknown together. The final night was peaceful. Evelyn lay in bed surrounded by familiar objects, photographs, and the comforting presence of Harold. She spoke softly, expressing love, gratitude, and a sense of closure. Harold held her hand, feeling the warmth and fragility of the woman who had shared her life with him for over 60 years. He reassured her, whispered words of comfort, and remained steadfast, offering a presence that conveyed more than words could capture. In those final moments, Evelyn's eyes reflected both the life she had lived and the love that had sustained her. Harold felt a profound mix of sorrow and gratitude, mourning the impending loss while appreciating the extraordinary journey they had shared. He understood that her life, including the secrets she had carried, had been a testament to strength, resilience, and the enduring power of love. Her trust in revealing the truth to him in her final days was a gift, and he held it with reverence. After Evelyn's passing, Harold spent time reflecting on their shared life. He revisited old letters, photographs, and journals, finding comfort and meaning in the memories they had created together. The letters that had once seemed mysterious now served as reminders of the depth of Evelyn's character, her resilience, and the careful way she had protected their life together. Harold felt a deep sense of connection to her, understanding that her legacy was not only in the memories, but also in the love and trust they had nurtured. Harold also reflected on the lessons he had learned from Evelyn's life and their shared journey. He understood that love is a complex, multifaceted experience that encompasses trust, patience, empathy, and the willingness to accept another person fully, including their past and their secrets. Evelyn's courage in revealing her past, even in the final moments of her life, exemplified the depth of her character and the strength of their bond. In the weeks and months that followed, Harold honored Evelyn's memory through quiet rituals of remembrance. He tended the garden she loved, maintained the home they had shared, and engaged with family and friends in ways that kept her presence alive in his heart. Each day was a balance of grief and gratitude, a recognition of loss intertwined with the profound appreciation for a life lived fully and a love shared deeply. Harold also found ways to share Evelyn's wisdom and experiences with younger generations. He recounted stories from their life together, emphasizing lessons of resilience, integrity, and the importance of love and trust. Evelyn's experiences, once hidden, became a source of learning and inspiration, a way to extend her impact beyond her own life and ensure that the lessons she had learned were not lost. Through all of this, Harold maintained a sense of connection to Evelyn. He spoke to her in quiet moments, visited familiar places, and revisited old letters and photographs. The memories became a living testament to their shared life, preserving the depth of their relationship and the enduring bond that had sustained them through decades. Even in her absence, Evelyn's presence remained, a reminder of the extraordinary life they had shared. Harold realized that their 60 years together were more than just a measure of time. They represented a lifetime of shared experiences, challenges, triumphs, and growth. Evelyn's secret, revealed in her final days, had added complexity and richness to their story, deepening his appreciation for her courage and the resilience she had demonstrated throughout her life. Their journey together exemplified the profound nature of human connection, the capacity for love, and the power of trust and understanding. As Harold continued his life after Evelyn, he carried with him the lessons, memories, and love that had defined their journey. He understood that the essence of their relationship was not bound by time or circumstance, but by the enduring commitment, empathy, and compassion that they had cultivated. Evelyn's life, her secrets, and her ultimate courage had left a lasting imprint, shaping Harold's understanding of love, life, and the human experience. In reflecting on their life together, Harold recognized the extraordinary nature of their bond. They had navigated challenges, celebrated joys, and faced the uncertainties of life with unwavering commitment. Evelyn's secret, once a source of mystery, had ultimately strengthened their connection, demonstrating that love is resilient, compassionate, and enduring. Harold carried her memory with reverence, gratitude, and a deep understanding of the life they had shared, honoring the extraordinary woman who had been his companion, confidant, and greatest source of joy for over 60 years.